And welcome back, everybody. It's time to talk about my best indie of 2016, and I will try to keep it brief just this once. First up is Hyperlight Drifter. This is by far my favorite indie game of the year and ranks well up into my top of the overall games list as well. It had some incredibly fluid and responsive action combat with a lot of tactical decision making and twitch gameplay about using your skills while avoiding the enemy's animations. It was difficult, but more in the challenging way of practice, patience, and understanding. It had an absolutely beautiful map with the best pixel art I'd seen in years. That is, until Children of Morta anyway. Amazing backdrops and a design intent that details and unveils certain mysteries of this world through playing. Lore entries to uncover, simple tales told by NPCs in a few pictures, and the stories it tells of lost civilizations that seen through these ruins and large robots as you pass. It is a masterpiece of design in every way, and I love it so much. So much so that I've actually been thinking about an NG Plus run lately. Oxenfree. Now, this nomination does come from just watching a Let's Play, and I know that's a silly thing to do for a Game of Year list, but it's my list. From what I watched of the story, the interactions, and the world building, it was an absolutely stellar overall experience. I purchased it on Steam sales too, so I should be experiencing it for myself soon as well. The story is just so perfectly timed through the experience, dropping hints and clues to an elusive mystery of this island that slowly manifests before you. I love the interactions with other characters and the pure depth of these decision trees you are allowed, and while yes, many seem to overtly direct the player's response, others give the player the ability to choose their story's direction. And then there is the unique and charming visuals throughout the game that invoke some nostalgic feelings with the design and coloring. The level of detail is impressive, but also the use of shade and color to create interesting contrast between the background and the foreground. It was a wonderful experience to watch, and I can't wait to experience it for myself. Unravel was a charming little platformer that, while short, succeeded in creating a strong narrative tied to elements of nostalgia and memory. Both the lovely backdrops of familiar places, the subtle lighting, the colouring, as well as the wonderful music just invokes your own memories as well. I enjoy the theme around capturing these memories, as it seems to be something we all do from time to time, holding those special moments dear to us and not wanting to let go as time flows on. For me, I think this was especially poignant coming from my grandmother's recent death, who suffered dementia towards the end, retelling the same stories to you on visits and later on events from the past. We all sat and listened through this time, and in a way, it's nice, terribly sad, but nice in the way of getting to relive someone's life and memories they hold dearest, the moments they cherished. Tyranny is probably the best RPG of the year for me in many ways. It was coming from the Obsidian development team, the people behind Pillars of Eternity, so I was expecting something decent. But their fantasy fare was nowhere near as interesting as this. The theme around being a part of this large evil force intent on enslaving and killing is so much more engaging, as it creates far more nuance around your choice and the morality of the situation. It leaves more room for roleplay elements and the construction of your character, and succeeded in creating a world and characters that embody the breadth of the morality spectrum. The story has been great to go through so far, and there is a large amount of options around progression for your character and the team. This includes skills, abilities, outfitting gear, and the roles you want them to fit. It is an overall great RPG. Stodgy Valley took up an immense amount of my time during the year, but what was so lovely about it was that it fulfilled a certain niche in my gaming that was rather lacking. A game where I could just sit back, relax, and unwind without really thinking about anything. No heart-pumping action or twitch skills needed, no deep strategy to plan and unleash, or even story that I needed to pore over and pay attention to. Just good old-fashioned grind. Of course, it could be more to some people with the relationship system, as well as optimizing that farm space, but for me, it was solely to relax and I loved it. The nice part was the variety of the options that fell into this gameplay as well. The farming and crafting and fishing and mining were all rather relaxing to indulge in. Now with the new farm spaces and buildings, I've even had the urge to go back once more. The amount of rather hilarious emergent narratives that Rimworld provides is absolutely amazing. Sure, it's all rooted and encoded in the systems, but the randomization of character traits and interactions create some wild tales where people go berserk, animals rampage, and people fall in love. It's a wild ride while playing. It's also a great management game in a way that feels rather familiar but offers freedom with how you build and survive. There are various elements of the survivor's health to take care of, stockpiling food and resources, building and crafting, as well as creating a defensible base when raiders attack. It keeps you busy, but not in a way that feels too overwhelming or like constant busy work, as the systems, once arranged, work pretty well without your input. It's a great twist on the usual management game and provides endless hours of entertainment. Planet Coaster is the best theme park management game we've had in many years, that once again helps me relive the amazing time I had with the earlier Roller Coaster Tycoon games, a series that just exuded charm and a sense of childlike wonder, and Planet Coaster fulfills this and more. The real surprising part was just how much customization this game offers, which really helps to fill the idle time in the game while waiting for funds and research, but also allows an incredible amount of creativity with how you design your park. It keeps me coming back over and over, staying up late just because I'm building something new or fiddling with small details. It gives you grand ideas to implement and self-made long-term goals to work towards. Congratulations to Darkest Dungeon for actually making it out of early access. It was a long ride with lots of large changes to mechanics and gameplay, but it seems to have all worked out in the end with a game that embodies the best of RNG. Attacks can hit or miss, critical damage is there as well, different kinds of loot and dungeon layouts, and even what enemies you face. And then there is the mechanic around stress and that defining moment where your character breaks free into either depression or resolve. It is a game of replayability, of rage, frustration, and jubilation, of that sensation of grinding your teeth with anticipation of the next action. It has some great characters too, with some rather interesting skills to employ, a good amount of enemies to face with some increasingly challenging bosses, and an overarching gameplay that creates incredible strategic depth with movement through the dungeon, skill use, and the progression of your characters and the base. My only complaint is that it is a rather long and grueling game at times, with gearing up your characters, facing losses, and beating those bosses. It's good to know that in the next update it is creating a shorter mode for those that want to experience all that RNG has to offer. While Starbound doesn't quite reach the level of refined genius of its major influence Terraria, it is still able to stand apart on its own as something different and worthy of your time. There is a huge amount of progression there, which at times does feel a little grindy and forced with the planet tiers, still ends up being an enjoyable experience as you scour the universe for the incredible variety of new weapons, armors, and other facets. The part in my mind that made it something special was the colony aspect of the game that had you building a settlement on an alien planet and having people move in. These people often had quests for you to complete with the eventual aim of joining your spaceship crew. I had an amazing time building with this system and working towards a large colony. It wasn't just building though, but also exploring as much of the universe as you could in order to find those new furniture pieces and building tiles to use. It fulfilled my exploration and creative urges perfectly. Now, I really wasn't expecting to enjoy SteamWorld Heist as much as I did, as it wasn't really advertised or talked about that much, and yet It was the only indie game this year that I played from start to finish in pretty much one sitting. Started Saturday morning, slept, and then finished Sunday. It isn't that the game was overly complex, and the sense of progression was rather minimal as well, with only a selection of weapons and equipment that seemed to upgrade as the enemies did. The overall story and path to the end was rather straight and narrow as well, diverging little and feeling very familiar, and yet the gameplay itself was so amazing and compelling. The basics of it being a 2D turn-based were rather fun and created space for tactical play to matter as you maneuvered your team around the map, hiding behind cover where you could. The surprising part was the real-time aiming that had you setting up your shots instead of relying on RNG. This made it feel a lot more fluid and tactile while playing, like your choices and your actions mattered. Well, thanks for tuning in to my favourite indie games of the year, and a special mention to both Firewatch and Inside. What was your favourites of the year, and what are you looking forward to in the year to come? See ya!